It was around noon when the first scream rang out from the direction of Iya Basira's small food stall near the primary school. A child, no older than 10, stood frozen in the middle of the street, clutching his stomach. His face twisted in pain, and his eyes bulged wide in terror. His friends, who had been playing near the school gate, ran to him. But there was no use. The boy collapsed, and within moments, he was lifeless. People gathered quickly, whispering. They knew what had happened. It was the same thing that happened whenever someone came too close to Iya Basira's cooking. No one dared to speak her name aloud, but everyone in the town knew of her. Iya Basira was a large woman, so big that it was said she could not walk without support. Her business was cooking food to sell to children after school. But there was something wrong with her food. And something worse with the children who ate it. The legend of Iya Basira had been whispered for years, but now, people could no longer ignore the truth. The first incident, it all began a few months earlier. Iya Basira was not always the feared figure she had become. Years ago, she had simply been a woman who sold food, like many others in the village. She had always been known for her large size, but no one paid it much attention. Her cooking was popular among the school children, and her store was often crowded with eager faces, mostly the younger ones, hoping for a quick meal before heading home. But over time, strange things began to happen to those who sold food near her. The first was a woman named Adijat. Adijat had set up a food stall in the same area, offering hot pepper soup with rice, hoping to compete with Iya Basira's ever-growing business. At first, things went well. Her food was fresh, and she had a good reputation. But within a few weeks, strange things started happening. One afternoon, Adijat's rice pot tipped over for no reason. She had been standing in front of it, stirring the stew, when the entire pot just slid off the fire and crashed to the ground. She thought it was an accident until it happened again the next day. Then came the flies. They appeared out of nowhere, buzzing around her food, even though the day was not hot, and there were no other signs of spoiled ingredients. But it wasn't just the flies. One by one, customers began to stop buying from her, claiming her food made them sick. No matter how much she tried to clean her stall, it always felt wrong. The food tasted bland, the rice would burn quickly, and the soup would never thicken properly. Adijat grew desperate, and one evening, she stood outside her store, wondering if she should just give up. That was when she noticed Iya Basira, sitting at her stall, watching her from across the street. Iya Basira's eyes were cold and calculating. Adijat's business collapsed within a week, and after a few months, she moved away from the area. No one spoke much about her departure, but the whispers had already begun. People started saying that Iya Basira had a hand in her downfall, though no one could prove it. A few weeks later, another woman, Amina, set up a food stall near the school. She had heard the rumors about Iya Basira's strange ways but was not one to back down easily. She was confident in her cooking skills and believed that if she worked hard enough, she could win over the children's taste buds. For a while, Amina's food was loved by the children. Her jollof rice and fried plantains were favorites, and she quickly gained a loyal following. But once again, something sinister happened. One afternoon, Amina overheard a group of children talking about Iya Basira's food. They were laughing, saying how her food made them feel strong and how they had learned secret things from her. At first, Amina didn't pay it much attention. She had her own business to run. But as time passed, the children who ate from Iya Basira's stall began acting strangely. They would argue more with their parents, skip school without reason, and speak to older people with a disrespect that was unlike them. Amina grew concerned. One evening, she saw a group of children playing near Iya Basira's stall. They were laughing and shouting, But there was something unsettling in their eyes, something empty. It was as though they were no longer the innocent children they once were. That night, Amina's store was mysteriously set on fire. The fire spread quickly, and though no one was injured, Amina lost everything. People in the village began to suspect Iya Basira. A few brave souls whispered that she had something to do with the misfortunes of those who had tried to set up food stalls near her. But no one dared to accuse her openly. Months passed, and the whispers about Iya Basira grew louder. The children who ate her food were no longer the same. They became defiant, disobedient, and distant. Their parents noticed it but did not know what to do. The older children, especially, seemed to act out in ways that made the elders uneasy. It was as though something had taken hold of them, a dark force that clouded their minds. One day, a courageous woman named Bucky, who had recently moved to the area, decided she had had enough. She had seen the strange behavior in her own children and was determined to find out what was causing it. Bucky had heard rumors that Iya Basira's food was somehow linked to these changes, and so she decided to follow the woman and see for herself. One evening, after the school children had left, Bucky hid behind a nearby tree and watched as Iya Basira prepared her food. The sight she witnessed sent chills down her spine. Iya Basira was not cooking with the usual ingredients. There, in the large pot, were pieces of meat that didn't look like any animal she had ever seen. The woman stirred the pot carefully, muttering words that sounded like incantations. Bucky could barely hear her, but she could tell that Iya Basira was performing some kind of ritual. Suddenly, Bucky saw something even more disturbing. A small, limp hand, which appeared to be human, was placed into the pot. Her heart raced as she realized what was happening. Iya Basira was using human parts in her cooking, and worse, she was feeding it to the children. Bucky was horrified. She quickly ran to the village elders and told them everything she had seen. The elders were shocked but knew they had to act. They gathered a group of people, including several parents whose children had been affected by Iya Basira's food. They confronted her that same night, demanding that she confess. Iya Basira did not resist. She sat quietly as the crowd surrounded her, staring at them with an almost indifferent gaze. When asked about the human parts in her food, she simply nodded. She had been caught, and there was no point in denying it. With a cold, calm voice, she confessed to everything. She explained how, years ago, she had made a pact with a powerful spirit. In exchange for wealth and power, she had agreed to feed the children of the village food laced with dark magic. This magic was not just to control their bodies, but also their minds. The children she had initiated were now her followers, bound to her by the spirit she had made the deal with. She confessed how she had used pieces of human bodies, often from those who had mysteriously disappeared, since it was the key ingredient for the magic to work. The children who ate her food were meant to become vessels for the spirit, and over time, they had become more stubborn, rebellious, and wicked. Iya Basira spoke with an eerie calmness, as if she were telling a simple story. But to the parents and villagers, it was a nightmare. The children they once knew were gone, replaced by something dark and unrecognizable. The villagers were furious, threatening to kill Iya Basira if she did not undo the damage she had done. But Iya Basira only laughed, knowing that the damage had already been done. The children were lost, and the magic could not be undone. In the days that followed, parents who were aware of the curse began taking their children to a local spiritual healer for deliverance. It was a difficult and painful process, but slowly, the children began to return to normal. Their behavior improved, but the darkness of what had been done to them would always remain in their hearts. Iya Basira was taken by the villagers and locked away. She was never seen again. Some say she was killed for her crimes, while others say she was cursed to live forever, trapped in the spirit world she had called upon. But the story of Iya Basira serves as a warning to all parents. In a world where things are not always as they seem, we must protect our children with vigilance. We must be careful where we send them, what they eat, and whom they trust. The spirits of darkness are real, and sometimes, they hide in the most unexpected places. Parents, be careful of the food your children eat. Watch over them closely, for there are evil forces that prey on the innocent. Never forget the story of Iya Basira, for the darkness can creep in when you least expect it. And once it has taken hold, it may be too late to save them.
Thanks for watching.